Right, so in summary we can uh, describe the producer consumer problem like this. So you can see in this pseudocode, producer will continue until the buffer is full, right? If the buffer is full, it will suspend, will be in the loop. If not, it will produce an item and continue. Same way, the consumer will check whether the buffer is empty or not. If the buffer is empty, so the consumer doesn't do anything. If the buffer is not empty, that means at least one element is available, it will take the item out and uh, continue. So to implement this solution, so we have to introduce a new variable called count. So count will be incremented when a producer produces an item, and the count will be decremented when the consumer consumes an item. So here this can be implemented inside the operating system, and when it comes to the implementation, you can see we have to use a register for increasing and for decreasing. So when it comes to implementation of these two operations, that is to increase the counter by 1 or decrease the count by 1, so when we have these two codes for implementation, so you can see when it comes to increasing, we copy the value into the register, increase the register's value, and then copy the register value into the counter, right? So when we decrease, also the same thing. So we copy the value of the counter to the register, then we reduce the value from the register, assign the new value to the counter. So in this case, so we can go through a particular sequence like this: S0, S1, S2, S3. So these are sequence steps. So we can see first when we copy the value of the counter, and in the second step we increase register 1 value into 6, assuming that the counter value initially 5, and then that particular process will be hold. Then uh, the next step would be copying the counter value again to register 2, and then decrease the counter value by 1, right? So then what happens here, as you can see, now register 1 value is 6, register 2 value is 4. So based on the sequence of S4 and S5, the final count will be determined, right? So when we run the counter, when the counter is 5, then count will be 6, and then when we run the consumer, again the count will be reduced by 1, and again it will be 5. So when we run producer once and consumer once, the count value will be 5. But here, as the answer, you can see it would be either 4 or 6. So both are not correct. So this is the problem in process synchronization, right? So when the sequence is wrong, you will get a wrong answer, right? So there are two terms that are important in process synchronization. One is race condition. So what do you mean by race condition? When the sequence of execution changes, the final answer will change, right? That is the race condition. So race condition is important when it comes to cooperating processes, especially in this simple example. You can see count will be initiated to a particular value, and when one process starts its execution, it has to complete, otherwise when it stops it at the beginning, at the middle of the execution and start the next one, we may end up in giving a wrong answer. So now you know what is the race condition, right? That is the sequence of execution, and when the sequence of execution changes, the final answer will be different. Sometimes it can be the wrong answer. So in this case, either P4 S4 will be last or S5 is last, we will get the wrong answer. So why this happens? Because two code segments, copying the count into register 1, increase the register 1 value, and copying the register 1 value into count. So in these two code segments are very important. When one code segment starts execution, the other one should be blocked. Otherwise, we will end up in giving a wrong answer. So these two code segments of increase in the count and decrease in the count is considered as critical region. So that is another important term, critical region. So the definition for a critical region would be accessing shared data and do modifications to the shared data and updating the shared data. So count is a shared data or shared variable because it is being shared by both producer and the consumer. Producer will use the count to increase, the consumer will use the count to decrease the value. So count is the shared variable. So the critical region for each of this producer and the consumer is indicated in these two code segments, that is register 1 copying the count value into register 1, increasing one register 1, and copying register 1 value into count. So that three lines of instructions would be the critical region. Right, then the race condition is described here. This is a definition for the race condition. So when the sequence of execution varies, and based on that the final output will be different. Sometimes we may end up in the wrong output, as I showed you in the previous example. So in process synchronization, the two important terms are the race condition and the critical region. So I will explain this race condition and the critical region by using a very simple example. So assume that there's a shared variable, the value is assigned for 10, and there are two processes, process A and process B. Process A will increase the value by 10 and process B will decrease the value by 10. So here you can see the two processes are illustrated here. So process A will copy the value of the shared variable and add 10 to it and update the value of the shared variable, right? And process B will read the value of the shared variable and reduce 10 from the shared variable and update it, right? So in this particular example, what we want to do is we will run process A and then process B. So the sequence of execution would be running process A and running process B. So we'll see how this execution happens. So as you know, in the last example we have covered CPU scheduling. So what happens is the CPU will start executing a process. After a while, the CPU can stop that particular process and give the chance to another process for execution, right? So that is called as context switching. So here first the scheduler will switch into process A, and copy the variable, right? Then the local variable will be 10, then add 10 to it, so the local variable value is 20, then update. So when we update, you can see the shared variable value will be 20, right? So in this scheduling sequence, process A is complete, so the shared value will be updated into 20. Then when process A completes, a context switch, that means process A will be terminated and CPU will start executing process B. So the shared variable will be copied back into the local variable of process B, and then minus 10, local variable will be 10, and update the shared variable. So the final value of the shared variable will be 10. So this is what we expect, right? So we will start executing process A, then process B. So when process A completes, the shared variable will be updated, and then process B will copy the variable and do the necessary computation and update the variable. So process A will add 10 to it, process B will reduce 10 from shared variable. So at the end, the final correct results would be 10, right? So here this is one sequence. Based on that, the final value is 10, right? So the sequence goes from process A, copying the value of the local variable, add 10 to it, updating. Then copying the shared variable value again to process B, minus 10, and update the shared variable, right? So in this example, what is the critical region? So the critical region is copying the shared variable into the process, do the operation and update. So you can see the highlighted in this particular example, right? So you can see in this pink color, right? So it is highlighted. So those are the code segments or the instructions belong to the critical region. So remember, it's very important to understand what is the critical region. So the critical region should include copying the shared variable, do the operations to the shared variable until the shared variable is updated, right? So that is the first sequence of execution. Then we'll move into another sequence. So assume that the CPU is scheduled using round robin, right? Because in round robin we have a time slice. So when the time slice expires, the process will stop and give a chance to another process in the queue, right? So here we will copy the variable, right? And then there's a context switch. That means process A will stop, give the chance to process B. Now what happens is process B will also copy the value of the shared variable. So the value of the local variable of process A is 10, as well as the local variable of process B. Then the third step, process B will continue, reduce the value of the local variable, minus 10. That means the local variable value will be 0. So then there's another context switch. Process B will be stopped and starting the continuing process A. So process A already copied the shared variable, and then the next step is to add 10. Now the local variable is 20. So now there's a problem. As you can see, either process A updates the memory or process B updates the memory. It would be either 0 or 20. right? Because the local variable value of process A is 20, local variable of process B is 0. So here you can see the in this set of execution uh, sequence of execution, the answer either process the fifth step or the sixth step is interchanged, the answer is wrong. So that is what is meant by the race condition. So in the first sequence we get the correct answer, in the second sequence we get a different value, but both are wrong. So based on the order of execution of instructions in a given set of processes, when the answer differs, that is the race condition. Right, I think now you can understand the problem in process synchronization. So you have to clearly understand the two terms, that is the race condition and the critical region or critical section. Both terms are being used as the same, critical section and critical region. So you can see when one process accesses the critical region, and when you allow the other processes also to access the critical region for the same shared variable, we cannot get the correct answers, right? So as solutions, there are three conditions we need to assure to run the processes in the correct order and get the correct results as the output. So the three conditions are indicated here. The first condition is mutual exclusion. So that means when one process enters its critical region, no other process can be executed in their critical region. So in other words, it is like isolation. So when one process starts executing the critical region, no other process can enter the critical region. So that is called mutual exclusion, right? So in the previous example, for an example, when P1 enters the critical region, right? So P1, when P1 starts copying the variable, shared variable into the local variable, from that point onwards, we have to block process B. So the process B won't be able to execute until process A copy the variable, add 10 to it until it gets updated. After updating the shared variable, then only process B can proceed its critical region, right? So that is mutual exclusion. Then the progress. So if no process is executing in the critical region, then one process can enter the critical region, right? So then after that it can compute the operation, and then when it completes the critical region, it should allow the other process to enter its critical region. So that means, so when one process like process A enters the critical region, do the operation, so maybe process A may have some other operations as well, right? So this may not be the only operation. So when process A completes, that means update the shared variable, immediately after that process B should be allowed to enter the critical region. So the system should be in progress. That is the idea of the second condition, right? So progress means that. So when one process enters the critical region, when it completes, immediately after that, the CPU or the mechanism of process synchronization should allow the other process or any other process that is willing to use the critical region should be given the permission to execute. Then bounded waiting. So a particular process may enter the critical region number of times, maybe 10 times or maybe 100 times, but there's a limit. So bounded wait means that. So when in the previous example, when process B enters the critical region, so process B can run, let's say, 10 times, 20 times or 100 times, but there's a bound, there's a limit. So when process B execute 100 times, after that process A should have a chance for execution. So the waiting for a particular process should not be unlimited or should not be infinite. So it's a finite number of times, right? So that is the meaning of bounded waiting. So those are the important conditions when it comes to solving the critical section problem. So next we will see what are the implemented solutions in the operating systems to solve this critical section problem.